Hello everyone, welcome back to the Zach F1 channel, and as you can see from the title, in today's video, I'm going to be giving you some of my predictions for the F1 2024 season. However, I thought that would be a little bit more boring, so I have 8 categories where I'm going to give my opinion on what's going to happen in all of them. Let's get straight into the predictions, and we'll start off with the easiest two, which of course the first one is who will win the Drivers' World Championship, and it's going to be Sergio Perez. I'm only joking, I'm pulling the leg. Of course, it's going to be Max Verstappen. Red Bull are somewhere between half a second and a whole second ahead of the rest of the field. It could be even worse than 2023. I think it can't be any more dominant than 2023. There has to be a race where Red Bull just gets it all wrong or has bad luck. However, for now, Max Verstappen, he's going to be winning it. There's no one who's going to be even coming close. Then, moving on to the Constructors Championship, what a surprise. If you couldn't guess who I'm about to say, it's going to be Red Bull Racing. Again, I had a look into Ferrari, but it's just... I know we haven't seen any cars properly on the track yet, but from the testing and the data we've been seeing, I would like to add, I can't find any of these photos that I've seen, because I have seen Red Bull gap comparisons to the rest of the field. However, if you want to find out a little bit more of why I think certain ways, Pit Lane TV have put the pre-race press conference for Bahrain on, which I have watched. The official F1 website, there's a lot of articles about all of the F1 testing, and also the F1 YouTube channel has just released the weekend warm-up, which you can watch to see where the teams will be as well. I just can't see it going any other way than Red Bull this season. Potentially Ferrari could get close. They're definitely going to be the second closest, but again, like last season, I feel like there's just going to be too much scrapping in the second to fourth place, even if Ferrari had a faster car. And with this scrapping, it always ends up with the other teams getting less points and Red Bull just getting more and more and more over them. But with those easy ones out of the way, I'm now going to give my predictions for who will be a race winner in 2024. And I'm going for 5 different drivers. First driver, of course, Max Verstappen. He will probably win the first race in Bahrain. Actually, he won't win Saudi Arabia. I've got that pretty much locked out for Perez. He normally does pretty well there. Verstappen first race, Perez second race. However, there's going to be 3 extra drivers on top of the podium. First up will be Charles Leclerc. His teammate did it last year in Singapore. I think with where the Ferrari is right now, there's got to be a time where they put it on pole and they don't just lose it, or Verstappen gets unlucky, Perez has a bad race and does a Perez, and Ferrari just keep their cool and Leclerc wins it. I don't think Carlos Sainz will be winning a race this season, but definitely Leclerc 1, potentially 2. Then a big boy. Again, this is probably my biasy coming through, but I really do believe Lando Norris is going to win a race this season. Now, McLaren, I'm going to start well off. It is painful. They never start the season off well, but it's been talked about how, again, get into the European part of the season and they will have proper upgrades bringing in again. It really hurts my soul as a McLaren fan. I mean, again, I'm saying all of this. It has only been testing. I might be being a bit over dramatic because they might come up and have a decent car. But, just from everything we've seen, McLaren just get it right for once. But I do think once we get those developments going forward, Lando Norris will win a race. Will win a race. I think it's the same thing with Leclerc. Verstappen can't get lucky every single time, and there was multiple times where if Verstappen, car just went or had a little incident, then Norris was there for the win. And I think that's sort of how it's going to go if he needs a win this season. And then finally, this one, I think this is the most outrageous one. Funnily enough, I know I just don't have any faith in Mercedes this season, but Lewis Hamilton, I believe, will win a race. It's been a while for him in a Mercedes, him at the top step of the podium. It's his final season with the German team, and I just think it'd be such a great way to send him off with one final race win. Now, moving on to surprise podium finishes of the season. So this is basically any driver that's not in McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull. And first up, I really do believe it will be Yuki Tsunoda. I don't know when it's going to happen. Potentially Monaco, potentially Spa, potentially Singapore. Any race where there's lots of chaos normally. And I'm taking sprint races, by the way. So if you had guessed Oscar Piastri last season, I would accept that. But I just think there's got to be a race where something crazy happens. And I think someone like Yuki Tsunoda in that V-carb, where it is now, will be someone to take advantage of it. Then the other driver, I think, because I think there's going to be 2 drivers, would be Fernando Alonso. Now, a lot of people would say that's not much of a surprise, but where the Aston Martin is, I think, going to be at the start of the season and throughout the season, I think it will be a surprise when Fernando Alonso just all of a sudden puts it in qualifying 2nd or 3rd out of nowhere with like Stroll in like 16th or some bollocks and just keeps it throughout the race. It's going to happen exactly like that. Watch out for one of the races where you can't overtake. Well, I mean, in F1, that's basically all of them. But you know what I mean. Singapore's, the Monaco's, the street tracks, basically. He's going to do something, I'm telling you. We move on to the biggest overachievers this season, and it's going to be V-carb, isn't it? It has to be. I mean, when you think of all of the other teams that it could be, it's not going to be McLaren because now we've actually got expected results from them. Mercedes, no. Ferrari, maybe if they can take the fight to Red Bull. But all of the other lower constructors, they're not going to do it like V-carb this season. V-carb are going to be special. Now, I've spoken about this actually in multiple videos. Not top 5 special, but top 10 special. So look out for them. I'm telling you, they're going to be 6th or 5th in the constructor standings by the end of the season. Then we move on to biggest underachievers. And funnily enough, I would have said this before we had done testing as well, because I'm sort of cheating now. But it's going to be Alpine, isn't it? Apparently, they could even have a worse car than Haas. Now, I don't believe that, because it's impossible to have a worse car than Haas. But if that genuinely happens, what is going on with Alpine? It will be one of the most embarrassing seasons for a constructor in F1. Now, because Williams, we saw the downfall happening. With Haas, we saw the downfall happening. Alpine looked okay last season. This year, they've just got a shitter. It's not looking good. But even if they come 8th, 9th or 10th, I think that's the biggest underachiever spot secured for them. They need to be top 7 or more for me to be like, okay, not the worst season, but it was still okay. It was manageable. But yeah, anything below 8th place for a team like Alpine, disaster class. Now, again, I've spoken about this a little bit before, but I think the biggest jump from the start of the season to the end with development, I really believe in McLaren. Again, biasy coming through, I know. But McLaren will start off 3rd or 4th fastest car. By the end, I think they again can be fighting with Red Bull and Ferrari. Purely because I know what they can do now. I've seen what their development's like. And I do trust in the spec car they have, so they can just build upon it. But I love McLaren so much that I'd be just so disappointed if they did start as the 3rd or 4th car and just didn't improve, considering how excited they got me at the end of last season. And then I think for the final predictions I will make this season, it has to be drivers who are going to be retired or sacked by the end of the season. Now, we'll start off with Valtteri Bottas. As we all know, Lewis Hamilton's going to Ferrari in 2025, which means there is a lot of driver changes that are going to happen. Where does Sainz go? Well, it's looking like Sainz probably will go to the Sauber team in preparation for the Audi takeover. I don't see where else he would go. And Zhou's been pretty decent recently, so I don't think they'll want to get rid of a young driver like Zhou, who could potentially become even faster and faster. So I do think Bottas will be the one who's put under the bus. However, his contract is coming to an end, and he is getting up there in age. So it wouldn't be the worst way to go for Valtteri Bottas, but I don't think we'll be seeing him in 2025. Same with Fernando Alonso. He won't be sacked, of course he won't, but I do think he'll retire. His contract, again, is ending pretty soon, by the end of 2024. And I know we all joke that he could race till he's 50, but he is 41, 42 now, and it's got to be putting a lot of pressure on his body these days. Plus, does he want to do anything externally out of F1? Because if he does, he's only got a few more years to do it. So I do think he's gone for 2025, sadly, because I do love Fernando Alonso as well. So I really hope this doesn't happen, but I could easily see it happening. And then another driver who will retire will be Kevin Magnuson. He's again getting a bit old, contract coming to an end, Haas probably looking for a fresh start, and I've said this multiple times that I don't think Kevin Magnuson is good enough now. He's on too high of wages for Haas. Haas should be looking for a new driver in general, and I think with Hülkenberg at the wheel helping this younger driver, I think that would work out better, and I think that's what they're going to do. Now to drivers who I think will be sacked. Again, Logan Sargent. Technically, he could say he retired. It'd be a very young age to retire at, but it's most likely going to be sacked. I can't see Logan Sargent doing well this season. Maybe a point every now and then, but Albon's going to carry hard. Williams are going to have enough of it. Sargent will be gone by 2025. And of course, the last one is Sergio Perez. Again, I think he'll be sacked / retired, because I think if he is sacked by Red Bull halfway through the season or by the end of the season, you've got drivers like Yuki Tsunoda and Ricciardo waiting who don't have forever to get that Red Bull seat. And they've also got other drivers like Lawson who they want to put into, well, the V-Carb now, the Toro Rosso. So I do think if Perez is sacked by Red Bull, he's not going to go anywhere else. I think he'll just call it a day. And I will say it's not a bad career he's had. Race wins, lots of podiums. He's driven for some of the most amazing constructors. I mean, he drove amazingly back in the day for Sauber in 2012, which then got him a seat at McLaren, which is unluckily when McLaren started having their downfall, because if he had gone one season earlier, I think he would have actually been brilliant. Then, of course, he stuck at Force India, that then moved to Racing Point, which then moved to Aston Martin, where he then moved to Red Bull. But I do think 2025 will not see Sergio Perez in an F1 car. But anyway, what do you guys think of my predictions coming into the F1 2024 season? Are there any predictions that you want me to say that I've missed out? Comment down below, and of course, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all later for another video. Bye bye.